for that lost widget in your bag? I'm looking for the lost memorandum.
Oh.
All right. I welcome everybody to the July 12th, 2021 meeting of the Town of Washington Town Council. And I see that we have 4 members in attendance, so that we have a quorum. We have an agenda in front of us. Can I have a motion to approve the agenda and a second, and then we can have any discussion about any additions or any other actions. So can I have a motion to approve the agenda?
I'll make a motion.
Mary Ann, thank you. And a second?
Second.
Second, Gail, thank you. Are there any changes? I'll move this a little closer. Make sure, am I on? Test. I'll assume that I am. Any additions or corrections? If not, may I have a roll call vote to approve the agenda? Patrick?
Yes.
Yes.
Yes?
Yes.
It is approved. Thank you. We have the minutes for the June 14 meeting and the June 21st Council and Planning Commission joint work session minutes. I'd like to go ahead and have a motion to approve both.
I'll make a motion to approve them.
Thank you. A second?
Second.
Are there any changes or corrections?
I didn't see any. No.
Okay. That being the case, let's have a roll call vote to approve. Patrick?
Yes.
Yes.
Yes?
Yes.
All right. They are approved. Thank you very much. The mayor's report tonight, I only have one item, and it's a bit of sad news. Someone who has been an extraordinary force in our community for many, many, many years, Lois Sneed, died last week on Monday. Lois Sneed was an extraordinary person. She was originally from the Midwest and came and married Rainer Sneed, who many people know was the district judge here for many years.
Circuit Court?
Circuit Court, sorry. Lois was small in stature, but big in heart, and had a powerful personality. She was such a force that she had 2 churches instead of 1 that she attended. We will miss her dearly. She'll be very much missed. That's all I have for my report. Report from the Planning Commission.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. We met on Friday for 2 hours. It was, a wonderfully productive meeting. We started with a presentation on the revised schedule for the commercial building and flat housing. We noted that as a result of issues that have been raised over the last month, the program, the RRC, has in fact made a series of very significant changes: the height of the number of stories, the width of the road, the design of the community, the commercial building fronting onto one avenue, the fact that there will be no basements, the number of dwellings, the definition of who the housing will go to, the size of the cafe, the details on the appearance of the housing, and the fact that the housing will be in place for 50 years. And with that, we then went on to have a very, I think, in-depth session. We went through the conditions for the special use permit. We came to agreement as a planning commission on what will be the recommendation that we will make to this town council and the conditions that will go with it. And we now have to, as the timetable now kick on, we have to advertise for 2 weeks. And then we will hold a public hearing at 7 p.m. on Thursday, the 29th of July.
Great.
And after that, we will take a formal vote, and then we will pass our recommendation and the conditions to the town council.
On behalf of the Town Council, I want to thank both you, Caroline, and the members of the Planning Commission for the detailed study that you did and the great amount of time that you spent throughout this process. Well, you all did a great job, so thank you very much. And we look forward, I know personally, I look forward to coming to that meeting on the 29th and being part of seeing all the good work being done there. Thank you very much. Is there a report from the Architectural Review Board?
I think so.
All right. Do they have a meeting this week?
On Wednesday, and they have one application to review signage from.
Okay. Treasurer's report.
Thank you. You have the numbers in front of you. If you don't have any questions, everything is looking good income-wise. It's nice, as I said last month, to see the world more than back. Thank you. If you look on the bills to be paid, there's a couple of things I'd like to note. It was our annual, let's pay our $16,000 insurance bill. And also, under the wastewater account, you'll see an Appleton Campbell bill there, because last week we had to replace the entire HVAC system at the building at the wastewater plant.
Ain't fun. All right. Anything else?
Nope, that's it.
All right. So would you like a motion to approve the bills to be paid?
Yes, please.
All right. And you're making that motion?
I make the motion to approve the bills to be paid.
All right. And second?
And I second.
Thank you, Marianne. Any discussion? If not, roll call vote. Patrick?
Yes.
Yes?
Yes.
All right. It is approved. Thank you very much. Public Works Committee, unfortunately, as you have seen, although we are in our old configuration, which we are joyously reveling in, we are missing some of our members. And two of our town council members are the ones who are the key members of the Public Works Committee. They are not here tonight, but I understand that they have given some information to the town clerk.
They wanted to report to you guys that in their monthly meetings with you, they will be giving you an update on the number of grinder pumps that are repaired, replaced, and what is in fact inventory. So for the last month, we've had 3 new grinder pumps put in, 5 repaired pumps put back in, and we've purchased 2 new ones. And there's currently an inventory of 3. That means there's 3 pumps on the shelf should something happen that would be ready to drop in.
All right. Thank you very much. Good report. If you do so well like this, they might have you give the report from here on out.
Since I'm to give them the numbers, it's okay.
All right. Mr. Bennett, as a town attorney, do you have any information for us?
I received this afternoon a notice from the attorneys for REC, Electric Cooperative, that they're going before the State Corporation Commission to try and implement a plan related to electric vehicles. It's a pilot program, but I think it sort of telegraphs their thinking and where they might be going. I've only got one copy of it, but for anyone who's interested in that topic, it's interesting reading what they're going to do. The idea is that they will give a credit on everyone's bill, on the bills of people who charge their cars only during designated hours, offload, low peak, low demand hours, and that credit will be more than offset by the capital costs saved from not having to construct additional capacity. So it's interesting. So I'll give it to the clerk, anybody who'd like to take a look at it. But 200 cars the first year in the program, 400 the second. I don't think it's going to be coming in our direction necessarily.
No. Although the town does have electric car
Absolutely.
charging stations.
Absolutely, yeah.
You can't say that about every town this size.
Thank you,
All right,
Patrick.
thank you. Now, Mr. Bennett, as zoning administrator, do you have any information for us?
Have the request for a variance for the Eagle property has been set for a hearing on August the 13th at 6 o'clock in the evening here at the town hall. There's still pending an application by Mr. Krabby for construction of a swimming pool in his backyard. He sent me a proposed resolution, and I thought that it needed further work on 2 points. One being that he really needs to secure the agreement of his neighbor as to whether her view of the mountains will be preserved by what he proposes to do. And I haven't gotten that back, so that's still pending. And that's about it.
Okay. Thank you very much.
Except, of course, for Rush River Project.
What's that?
That little project.
All right, before we get to that, beginning of almost a year ago, we, as a town council, met and tasked to members of the town council and others, chaired by the vice mayor, Mary Ann, to look into fireworks and whether guidelines and kind of how we should deal with fireworks. And through an enormous amount of work that they did and interviewing people and exploring different options, talking to people not only in the county, but also other jurisdictions, and finding other information, they were able to pull together some guidelines. And Marianne, I'd like you to go ahead if you would.
Sure. So we came up with, they're really informational steps, like the process if somebody wishes to have an aerial fireworks display in the town. It's kinder and gentler. It's not a regulation, because at the last discussion we had with town council and members of the public, there definitely people felt it should not be regulated by the town. So this is a gentle informational guideline type thing. If you wish to have a fireworks display, the first thing you do is go to the county for the permission and approval, et cetera, et cetera. And there should be a copy for everyone to see in their packets. So the question now is, first, does anyone have any comments on it? And two, do we want to just keep it as an informational sheet, or do we want to amp it up and make it a policy? And I think, Mr. Bennett, would that mean we'd have to vote on it, or?
Yes.
Okay. So are there any comments from anybody?
At the door.
It's pretty much what we have gone over in the informal agreement with the
I'd like to see it because it's something that we've all, as a group, agreed on prior. It's just putting everything in writing. I think for people moving into town or other businesses moving into town, it might be nice to have it.
Yeah, and we can put it in the welcome packet.
Mhm.
Yeah, it's sort of along the tone is like the welcome
Yeah, but
packet.
I think it's something that should be approved, so it's on the record.
Okay.
There's no surprises in there, it's just.
Fred, what do you think?
I'm fine with having it approved. Do we need to go through a roll call? This doesn't have to be an ordinance or anything. Can we just approve the guidelines as is?
I don't know of any specific requirement for a roll call vote.
Okay. So we can just, those who are in favor of accepting the informational steps as provided in the document in front of us.
Let's give Patrick a minute to read it.
Right.
Cut this off.
The only things that we put down is to do that you provide a half-hour window for when the fireworks begin, and their conclusion being within 15 minutes of their start time, and then the conclusion can be no later than 10 p.m.
Should we put in I'm going to ask Bob because he's here. Should we put in that 5-minute little warning just so that it's consistent for anybody else? I think so.
And dogs.
Right, right.
All right. Then let's hold off and let's have the, unless we have something in there after the 10 PM.
Or how about there will be a 5-minute
Warning,
warning,
yeah. That's fine.
or we ask that there be a 5-minute warning. How about that?
Mhm.
Okay.
Well, it's usually just 3 or 4 minutes.
The ones that we've had in the town have been well less than 15 minutes. So that was kind of a guideline. So,
Shall I make a motion that we accept the guidelines with the addition of the 5-minute warning?
okay, we have a motion on the floor. Do we have a second?
I second.
All right. Any questions or other amendments? Then,
I just wanted to ask, are there any special
Ah,
I think this is gold, this is a bourgeois band that we are going to have to try to add solid to that. And that might want
then should we just take out that phrase of with their conclusion being within 15 minutes of their start time?
Okay.
good idea.
All right. We need to have another motion.
I will amend my motion.
Good. To add,
To-
to delete
to
the
delete
phrase
The phrase,
with conclusion
within
being within
15
15
minutes.
The period will be after, begin, in which
Yep.
the fireworks
Yep.
begin.
All right, second
Thank you,
to that?
Patrick.
All right, thank you, Patrick. Voice vote to approve, please say aye. Aye. Any opposed? The guidelines are approved. Thank you very much. Rush River Commons project presentation.
talk about our project, and then if you have questions, we're happy to answer them all. So why don't you?
Great. Well, it's good to be with you all. So I'm Jordan Goldstein. So I'm a resident of Foothill along Brinkley Road. We had a great conversation on Friday for 2 hours, as mentioned, with the Planning Commission. So I wanted to walk through some of the design studies that we've been doing. I think everyone's familiar with this board, so I'm actually going to jump to some of the other ones. So I thought I'd actually start with how we began this project when we started with Chuck and the team. And that was really to look at what is the architectural context of the town and have a chance to really understand that and look at, as we start to think about the materiality of these buildings, we start to think about the heights of these building articulation of the facades, what is some of the precedent that we found, and also from a standpoint of looking at an architectural vocabulary, really trying to get a feel for the vernacular. So, this is just some of the images, but some things that caught our eye and really sort of weave into, our geometries and the masses of the building was looking at, certainly in porches, and covered entryways, so front porches, two-story porches, how they work themselves in. And also, as we look through, it's just window openings in massing, just a very simple geometries that are being used. Whether it's looking at simple forms of the building, clad in siding, the clean aperture centered on the overall facade, the material palettes, the siding, stucco, the use of brick in the town. Also, the simplicity in terms of the fenestration of the windows. So when we start to think about all of that, starting to work its way into our vocabulary as we look into the buildings. So I'm going to start off talking about the cluster towards Warren Avenue. And you have these in the 8.5 by 11, but it's always much better on the larger boards. So, the post office is here, so we're going to have Warren Avenue here, Leggett Lane coming through here. So I thought I'd start off talking about the commercial building. One of the things that had come up in the discussion was the 110-foot facade. And how would we be looking at that, and other ways to think about, breaking up the facade so this would read, as one long, planar element. So the first thing we started to think about is how can we do that in a way that not only works for Warren Avenue, but it allows us to kind of take those regulating lines, work them through the building, and figure out how they can also work with the functionality within the building. So one of the things that you're seeing here is in the plan, and I'll show it in a larger plan in a few boards, is actually stepping that facade, being able to get some articulation. Part of this building is we have a central lobby that comes in on the ground level. And being able to come into that lobby, have the required stairs and elevator access for ADA access and egress to the second, to and from the second floor, using that as a natural break and actually pulling that through the building. So what that allowed us to do is actually create a window element, which is actually in this zone here in the plan. And that's where the staircase is. So that does two things. One, it actually allows us to kind of celebrate that stair, allow that to reveal itself, brings natural light in. It's a northern exposure, so it's actually great natural light coming in. And it actually then breaks the facade. It actually creates a reveal between the two portions. So we're ending up getting a portion of the building here that's basically is at that line that we've been showing in our prior site plan. We're then stepping back to create that reveal that I mentioned, which is the staircase leading to the second floor. And then just in a little proud of that is this portion of the facade. The other piece that we started to look at is how are we articulating, the different points of entry into this building. Now, there is a retail component, opportunity on the ground level. There's a lobby entrance from the south side of the building. There also is an opportunity to recognize as you come from 211, onto Warren Avenue, as you come around, what do you see? How does this building present itself? So one of the things that really stuck out to us, if I go back to this one, is the two-story porch facade of the inn and the shop across the street. Patrick, I don't know the name of that building. What is it?
The tavern.
Okay. So we started to think about that as a way to celebrate the east side of the building here. So this does two things. One, actually, it brings that vocabulary in, so you can see that as you come around Warren Avenue. You'd also see that as you go past and come up to the inn and to the tavern building. On the second floor office building, it allows a chance for a little bit of outdoor breathing space for the tenant on the upstairs level. So, this roof line here, this is a two-story building. So it's a gable roof, similar to the gable average that we were seeing in the town. From a height standpoint, we're probably a little bit more closer to that kind of pitch of roof than the more steeper pitch that you see there. And a couple of things just to point out, and you'll see this as we walk through. We have a covered walkway that goes from the lobby entry of the Warren Avenue building here on the south side, that then works its way south and grabs and sends the front of the food pantry building. It becomes a covered walkway that extends and unites the two buildings together. So I'm going to pull up. So this is the plan of that building. As I mentioned, what we're doing here is a small retail space that you see here. There's a covered single-level porch on this side, facing to the west. So again, that's towards Leggett Lane. It would also present itself, as you saw in the drawing, on the Warren Avenue side. that the yellow zone in here is that lobby that I mentioned. So that stair that comes in, we're able to do this, thinking through how we're resolving that facade. We're pulling the elevator in. The elevator is required to be able to have ADA access to the second floor. We're able to pull that elevator in so the elevator doesn't present itself as a dead wall portion to the Warren Avenue facade. So that's what you're seeing there. The stairs wrap around that. That's glass looking out to Warren Avenue. Then this becomes office space on that ground level. So this is that line that I mentioned. We're then pulling back here and then popping forward a little bit, but still back from the main line. So in the end, what we ended up doing is taking the majority of the facade facing Warren Avenue and pulling back from the street to create that undulation. This is that dashed line that you see as a covered entrance that I mentioned leading into the lobby. So that Warren Avenue facade that we shared on Friday, if you look straight on and looking straight from Warren Avenue at this, you're seeing this portion of the building here, actually clad in siding, and the windows kind of clean aperture and a rhythm to that. The larger window that acts as the reveal between the two portions of the building with the staircase going up, and then you see the windows of the first and second level of this portion of the building. Standing seam metal roof, the covered porch single level here, and the double level facing to the east. So as we go over to the food pantry building, we've updated this sketch that I think many of you had seen prior. So one of the things we looked at with the food pantry building, it's really a single level building, but to work with the overall composition, we felt that it was important to carry the covered walkway line all the way across. So that's what you're seeing here, a rhythm of columns that march across. And then this facade of which is the west facade of the food pantry, is a double layer in height, double level in height. So what you're getting is a relationship between here and here. What does that do? It allows us to have a shed roof, which is a single slope roof in the food pantry, sloping from this point high in the west to lower on the east. So that eave line of that roof matches up with that eave line right there. It does a couple of things. One, this is clerestory light, so it's higher light, natural light that comes in from the west into the food pantry. We talked with them and worked through how they're going to work their functional layout on the inside. They're going to have an open ceiling, so all the trusses would be exposed in there. And what that would do is bring natural light in, would actually help reduce their utility bills because they would be getting natural light to help light the overall spaces, both their front of house space and their back of house space in there. Their main entry would be over here, and actually any loading that they do would be on the south side of the building, so you really wouldn't see that on the Leggett Lane facade. So if we go and take a look at that in a little bit more detail, what you're seeing here is that facade. So this is the standing seam metal roof coming across. It comes across from the lobby. By the way, one of the things that really does is it allows us between the two buildings, the commercial building and the food pantry building, to have a little courtyard here and actually bring a little bit of greenscape, softscape in there between the two buildings, so that the buildings actually have some breathing space between them. This is the high clerestory lighting, natural light that I mentioned here. There'll be the entry doors here, a few windows in the facade, and then also explain what this component is doing here when you start to look at the plan of the building. And this is the latest layout that we worked with them on, kind of studying their operations, talking through how they would move people in through this vestibule and front door in, having two particular components that can be used certainly during the day by the food pantry, but could also be open to additional community usage at night. One is this area right in here, which is kind of their kind of kitchen / break area, and then this conference area here. So that's what you saw as this element in the facade drawing there. So before I jump into the residential cluster, any questions? I'll keep on cruising. Okay. So there's a drawing that you have in your in your packet that I'm going to point you to the board, which is this one here that explains the residential layout. Yep, so there's 20 units, and how does this work? I'll point to this board here, clarify. So we have 3 buildings that make up the residential portion of this phase 1. The first is these 8 two-story units. So these are a series of townhomes there, and the way we set them up are there are 4 that are 2 bedrooms, and that there are 4 that there are 3 bedrooms. However, with the same footprint and plan, so depending on how usage is looked at in terms of who potential tenants are, you can mix up that with ease in terms of the floor plans. So they're very flexible. They're staying with for all of them. What we've done, and I'll show you in greater detail in a few minutes, for these 2 buildings, is that we're calling these 2 buildings, in a sense, they are basically 2 over 4. What does that mean? It's 2 two-bedroom units on top of 4 one-bedroom units, both of those buildings. So basically 8, and then you're getting 12 over here, so that's our 20 units total. 2 stories for this building total, 2 stories for these units here. What you're seeing right here, and it's shown in like a light tan on this drawing that's in front of you, that's a walkway. It connects over from the food pantry commercial building, comes down, and connects in front of these 8 townhomes, and in front of these 2 over 4 buildings. Then there's a central green, and you see that right there, which is a smaller courtyard that just helps create a little bit of breathing space in these units as well. So what do these units look like? So for the cluster of the 8 townhomes, one of the things we looked at was to make sure that we could set these up in a way that you're not seeing, 8 separate units. All of them have their big windows, and it's just repetition. So we started to group these in a way that you see this portion here and here, which in the plan you can see it, they pop forward a little bit towards that walkway, and this portion in the center, these 4 units, steps back. What does this do for us? It allows us to take that roof line, which is the same height all the way across, and get some differentiation between the 2 end units on either side and the 4 in the center. The other thing that we're doing here is actually then creating an area where you have grouped entryways to the buildings. So the covered walkway that you would see here is its covered porch entryway here and then here. So basically you get a single porch approach on the front that unites those 2 entryways. So rather than having, again, 8 separate entryways. Then when we come over here, you see a bay window condition on either side, and then a central bay here with a gable that comes off of that. What we're doing here is then allowing us to get balcony conditions on either side. That's going to create a little bit more articulation in that center zone. What we're suggesting from a material standpoint in these sketches is that perhaps we're getting a siding for the end units there, and then potentially looking at brick for the center. Now that's certainly something we'll continue to study to see how that works out. From a window standpoint, just clean symmetrical orientation here on the end units, and then again in the center. When we go to the 2 over 4 units, we looked at 2 different ideas, and these are both certainly, that we are exploring. The one on the left, and this is the buildings that are here and here. So what you're seeing here, again, is 2 units over 4. So the 2 bedroom units are upstairs. The 4 one-bedroom units are downstairs. This is that same roof line height that matches from the townhouse on the other side, standing seam roof. This one takes what we call a shed dormer, comes all the way across, creates a 2-story porch condition that's popping forward, and then a single level porch that covers the entry for the corner units on either side on the lower level. On the flip side, we did another, so basically this would be the east and west elevation of the building. It would be the same. So looking to the wetland side, looking to that center promenade, center walkway. And then on the other idea, this is again, same building, different idea for the facade. This is going a little bit simpler at the center zone, doing a shed roof that goes and attaches the peak line of the gable here, having the balconies, 2-level balconies to the basically a double porch on either side. It's a different approach there. So again, one of the things that we're looking at is being able to just understand, and recognize and appreciate the different view opportunities, and also how that articulation helps with the scale of the buildings, relative to the landscape around it, and then also ties itself to the townhome units across the way. So I will stop there, open it up for comments and questions.
I just would make a comment, thank you, that these are sketches, because we don't yet have a SUP or PUD, and so we haven't devoted a lot of money to drawing the actual buildings yet. These are ideas that we think are appropriate for what they will look like, but don't be misled, think that this is exactly the building you're going to get.
I just want to say thank you, and this seems to even have more detail than what you said at the planning commission meeting.
I keep drawing
I was going to say, I saw
We kept going after the meeting, yeah.
But it really looks really great.
Great, thank you, appreciate that.
What do you have on the Leggett Lane side of the residential?
Sure, yeah, we didn't draw that side yet, but I can communicate it.
Those who went on the Wednesday morning little site visit, you would find that with the foliage the way it is right now, you wouldn't even see the housing units. My guess is when the landscape architect are through with all of getting rid of some of the foliage, you'll be able to see the end of it, but not much of it.
Yeah, and the interesting thing that we're looking at here is that we're actually going to take this facade in a sense and bring it to the back. So what you're going to get is you'll get where the doors are would be actually a balcony condition. So basically it'll be column and feeling like a porch. So that would be here, that would be here, and that would be where these doors are. We're going to carry that through. We actually like the way it's articulating itself. And then same thing is true where you see this condition, on the upper level. We actually like the way that covered porch is working. There's something about, when we started to look at these units and kind of playing around with the geometries by grouping the entryways here, it sets itself up nice for the side facing the main promenade on the inside. But then also when we come to the Leggett Lane side, you can imagine, that as a porch, actually kind of works out nice and unites between these two areas right here.
Thank you.
Sure.
Are there other questions from members of the town council? Would you be comfortable if I open it up to any questions that members of the public have? I open up to members of the public. If any members of the public have any questions, please state your name and whether you're a resident of the town or the county or elsewhere. And please raise your hand and I'll acknowledge you. Any questions from the public? Or any? Yes, sir.
John Henry. Chuck and I were talking today about the traffic, and can you go over that again? So I just want to make sure. There was a study done on how many vehicles would come in and out, right?
Oh yeah. At the outset of the project, we did just a rough calculation of how many cars are going to be going. It's not very many. The average daily traffic on Warren Avenue, I think, is only 800 cars per day. So it's a very, very small amount of traffic on Warren. And all of our traffic we'll use for this phase will come off of Leggett.
So Warren is the one.
This is Warren right here.
From 211,
Yeah.
That's the one. Okay.
So
Yeah, so we don't have any entryways or exits onto Warren Avenue.
Except through Leggett Lane.
Except for correct. All our access is through Leggett.
800 cars go down Warren every day, except
that's the average daily traffic for Warren.
except during the parade.
Rates don't count. It's average.
Okay. And what's your estimate on what it'll raise the hour?
I would have to pull the number out, but I think in the peak hour, it might raise 30 or 40 in the peak hour condition.
30 or 40 an hour.
Correct. In an hour. So
And what
if you said 30 an hour,
what
that's
would you
one
need?
car every couple minutes.
What would you need before you'd have to put a traffic light? What's the?
Oh my gosh, we're nowhere near a traffic light. I mean, you'd need tens of thousands of vehicles a
Well, I
day.
understand VDOT doesn't even look at something unless it's 5,000 vehicles.
Correct, they don't even require a traffic study, so. No, I used to live in Middleburg for 20 years, and I was on the planning commission there, and we had one traffic light, and we were never gonna have another one. It takes way too much traffic, and,
They have one traffic light in 9,000 trips a day.
One tractor riding number, right next to Red Fox.
That's correct.
that's it. I hope I never see a traffic light in Washington.
Many of us think that. That and McDonald's, we don't want to see.
Or sheets.
Any other?
So, Caroline Matsey, Chair of the Planning Commission. I just wanted to say, I understand, Barbara can correct us, that all that information from that study is available.
Oh, yes.
We've all seen it, so it is available if you want to see it via the town hall.
You can get it from me, or it's also on the website, and download it from the website.
Now, we also took a preliminary look at left turn traffic potentially on Warren for this phase, and then a future phase with some assumptions. And we're nowhere close to generating enough traffic
For turning.
for turning lanes in either direction. VDOT has what they have criteria they call warrants for different improvements, and you have to meet a certain number of the warrants to trigger that requirement. And we're not even close at all.
You know, the obvious observation is that the heaviest traffic use of that corner would be sort of mid-morning when mail is put in the boxes and that sort of stuff, and it's outside the time when people will be coming and going out of either residences or the office across the way. So they, for the most part, we wouldn't expect them to conflict.
11 o'clock clocks out.
And the future expansion is what now? Are we just talking about?
Well, we're just talking
I'm just
about.
talking about phase one, which is within the town limits. There's
Phase
another.
two is.
It's the piece that's in the county, and we're not talking about that right now. This is what we're talking about.
But it's something I think it's fair to say that if there was anything that would be done, it would be of a similar scale.
It would be less dense than this.
Yeah.
Under our current plan, right?
All right. Mr. Bennett.
Steve, I just wanted to clarify this to make sure we're thinking the same thing here. The entrance into the project would be at the second entrance only.
Well, we got three entrances off of Flaggett. We have one here that lines up with the one at the post office. We have a second one here. The second entry to the post office is here. So we have a second entry here and then a third entry down near the treatment plant.
I don't know if it was, didn't see it. I thought all parties on this side. So as to, is the development plan going to be modified to show that the first entrance is not going to be used as an entrance, it's only a right out?
No, it's two ways. Like the post office, it's two ways.
Yeah, I would have a problem with that. There's not much room in there for stacking, and that, you know what that leads to, but it makes a lot of sense to.
Two work sessions ago. I say that was discussed, and you brought up two at the first or second work session, and we don't have any problem posting it to try to create the traffic circular in the second entrance as well.
So when you modify the development plan, it'll be shown the second entrance will be the entrance. And then if you go that way, Steve, would it make sense for the, I think the 15 parking spaces, well, the parking spaces in front of the food pantry, the commercial building, have those diagonal instead of 90 degree?
No, that's less efficient.
You lose
You
spaces.
lose a lot of spaces when you go in an angle park. The road, the town ordinances require the center road to be wider. I mean, this is like 22 feet, I believe. And that allows two-way traffic and allows people enough room to come in, make their 90-degree space and back out.
So the third entrance would be in and out.
Oh, yes.
Yeah.
Yeah, because the way we've done the the layout of the residential is instead of running a road right through in front of all the houses and have parking in front of it, we wanted to make it like a little, like a little village feel, a little courtyard. So we've got parking on one end and parking on the other. Not as convenient as parking right in front of your unit, but it's a very short walk to get into your unit, and then you've got a nice central green space.
And then we've had some discussions, but I don't know exactly where you all ended up, about the width of the parking spaces.
Standard parking spaces, 9 by 18.
So we did something larger at the post office, just so there's,
I think we're fine.
9 by 18 is pretty standard.
I know it's standard, but.
We have a more experienced population here in Washington and have,
They can't park for a while.
they have a little bit more difficulty opening doors and not having them hit their neighbor's car.
Look at the parking at the post office.
So I just want to follow up on a couple of things that Mr. Bennett is saying.
Well, they're going to be painted stripes. We can put them in at 9 by 18, and if everybody keeps hitting their doors, we can restripe it. We're also trying to get enough spaces, so.
You have a requirement of a certain number of spaces.
Correct, we do, correct. So.
I share with Mr. Bennett a small concern about making sure that as much as we can possibly do to make sure that that first entrance is not an ingress into the parking is really important, because it will make it a real mess, because you're going to have an end to the post office that's going to be right across Leggett Lane. I think they're going to have the exit, the ingress being the second one in.
Well, I think, with respect, I don't think there's that much traffic volume that's really going to be in conflict, but if it's okay to make this a right out only, that's fine.
That'd be great. Anything else from either from the public or from members of the town council?
Thanks as always.
Thank you very much. We appreciate all your thoughts and all your presentation. The next item, I don't know exactly how to go forward with this. We're going to have a discussion of the council's intention to adopt ordinances. And Mr. Bennett, I need some guidance from you as to procedure on this.
Each one, and I guess this is informational, so this is not an action.
I just wanted to be able to mention to everyone what's coming, so in the anticipated dates that it might be happening. So, as has already been mentioned, the Planning Commission really went through the 24 proposed conditions, the development plan. The applicants have been very cooperative, have done a really nice job of addressing the concerns that were raised by the Planning Commission, the ones that came to me that I set out in the memo. And what they'll be voting on on July 29th will come to the council on its August meeting, which is August 9th, which there's 11 days between those two events. And what you'll have in hand could very well be viewed as a final document. That could be a little polishing, or if someone disagrees with the underlying assumptions that led to a certain conclusion, conditions, if those are modified. But I think that's all easily done in the August meeting. And if that occurs, then council could authorize advertising either for the next September meeting or a special meeting. And so, purpose of bringing all this up, and I'm sure it would happen anyway, if everyone could really take a close look at what the Planning Commission has now, because that's not going to change. And if you have any thoughts or suggestions or whatever, if you'd give them to me as soon as you can, that I would really like to be in the position to be able to present something final for council's consideration that may only require minor this, minor that, whatever, at the August meeting. It's nothing new. All these issues have been on the table for months now.
Yeah.
There's been a lot of discussion about them.
So we'll look these over and get back to you like tomorrow or the next day. I mean, we have got probably the strongest planning commission that we could ever have. And not just in this town, I think in any town. So it's, I'm sure you've all found out.
I think all the points were well addressed, very thoughtful.
Yep. All right. So, steps 1, 2, and 3 under B of new business are the things that we will be looking at to have, I guess, either at a special meeting at the end of August or in September.
And there's one other issue that I'd like to address, and that's rezoning of the property. The sewer service district cannot include rural residential property. And there's a variation in some of the zoning maps, but all of them show a portion of this property to be rural residential, which would require rezoning. One shows it on the side of Route 211, Big 211, all the way down that side. Another map shows it as just the entire back portion of the property in the front as village residential. So to clear all that up, I would suggest that council consider a rezoning plan, that you draw a zoning line between the residential units and the rest of the project, but closer to the residential units, and that be rezoned village residential, and then the front portion essentially be zoned village mixed use. At the end of the day,
That makes sense.
At the end of the day, a planned unit development can be in any zoning district except a rural residential. So, but for the underlying zoning, these two are the closest that we have to what is being proposed. And with that rezoning, and then council can also consider amending the sewer service district map, at which point sewer service could be provided to the project, which is one of the conditions of the PUD.
So we would basically have 3 back-to-back public hearings.
Right.
On each.
And it sounds
after
like,
which we could then.
it sounds like number 2 is the first one, number 3 is
Actually,
the
it
second,
is.
number
Yep.
1 is
Actually,
the
it
third.
is. Yep.
Okay. All right. That's very helpful. Thank you very much.
I think Ms. Bennett said, if you encourage everyone to look at the conditions, what you actually have in your packet is not the latest conditions. You need to circulate that.
Right.
The ones that came out as the file.
Okay, so you'll just get it to Barbara and she'll send it. Okay.
Barbara, do you have those conditions? The latest version? Okay. All right. If you wouldn't mind sending that out tomorrow, because I know you have nothing else that you have to do.
She just
All right.
there and drinks.
Exactly. All right. Mr. Bennett, thank you very much for that information. We have one of the documents in your packet, or out on the table, I presume, was the Architectural Review Board's, actually, I don't see it here.
Minutes.
It is. It's in there.
It is?
The minutes.
I see the meeting minutes. I don't actually see
Looks
the,
like this.
oh,
Oh,
is it near the
Too much
front? In the-
paper.
In the back.
Okay. gets caught on this other stuff.
Got it.
All right. Yeah, I'm not seeing it in my, oh, maybe I do. No, I'm not seeing it in my packet either. But I read it today. I had a chance to see it. So I am familiar with it, unless it's, oh, there it is. So it's actually before the documents, the architectural documents. All right, so we have the annual report, which is available. I presume members of the public had a chance to see it. All right. So you have the annual report for information. Moving beyond that, are there any comments on that? Hearing none, I open up for public forum. Is there any questions or comments from the public? If so, as before, please state your name, your residence, either in the town or in the county, and raise your hand and I'll acknowledge you. Any comments from the public? If not, I will close the public forum. Going once, twice, closed. Ladies and gentlemen, we have come to the end of our meeting, sadly. One more month that I will miss your company.
Shall I make a motion?
Would you please?
To adjourn.
And do we have a second? Thank you, Mariette. Patrick?
Aye.
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 We're adjourned. Thank you.